So now that we know how to name ions, we're going to name groups, or we're going to name compounds, I should say. Now a compound is just two ions getting together. Now every ionic compound wants to have a neutral charge. So that means the pluses and the minuses have to cancel each other out. So if we're going to name a group A, two elements from group A's. Let's say we have some lithium and some oxygen. Okay, when these two things combine, the first thing we want to do is, just like our last problems, we want to figure out the charge of each individual ion. Alright, so we look up lithium on the periodic table. It's group 1. So now we know if it's group 1, it has a 1 plus charge. Oxygen is in group 6. So if I'm in group 6, I want to gain 2 electrons. So now I know the charge of each. So all I have to do when these guys get together is take this number and put it down there. And I take my other number and I put it down there. That's why we call it the crisscross method. Now my actual formula, when I rewrite it, I just take the subscripts and I leave off the superscripts. So there's my formula. So let's do another one here. Let's say these two guys get together. Alright, what ratio will they combine in? Well, I have to make the charge of each. This is group 2, so his charge is 2. This is group 6. He wants to get to 8. 6 plus 2 is 8. So he's going to have a 2 charge. The first is always plus, the second is always minus. Okay, if I crisscross my 2 down there and my 2 down there, we see my formula. And I just rewrite it without these floaty numbers, the superscripts. So I have Ca2S2. Now for ionic compounds, that's my ratio. They combine in a 2-to-2 ratio. Well, that's the same as 1-to-1. So I'm going to reduce that down. And there's my final formula. Alright, so again, I find the charge of each ion, I crisscross them, and if I can, I reduce it down. Alright, go ahead and use the crisscross method for these compounds. Pause the video, restart it when you are done. If we have a group B, pretty much the same thing, just one distinction. Group B's, remember, can have multiple charges. So they have to tell you what the charge is. So on a problem, they're going to tell you a Roman numeral. That's the charge. So let's say we want to combine, this is lead 4. They say, what happens when lead 4 and oxygen get together? Alright, well, just like before, first thing we want to do is figure out the charges. Well, that charge is given to you. All you have to do, put it right there. Oxygen is in group 6. He wants to get to 8, so he's going to gain 2. And just like before, I'm going to crisscross the charges. So I'm going to take that 4, put it down there. I'm going to take that 2, put it down there. I'm going to rewrite it with the subscripts, the numbers on the bottom, but not the numbers on the top. And just like before, I can reduce this, so I'm going to. So 2 to 4 is the same as 1 to 2. And there's my answer. So with group B's, the only difference is they're going to give you this charge. Alright, go ahead and use the crisscross method for these guys. Notice the first one is always going to have the charge. The second one, you got to figure it out yourself. So pause it, finish this, and move on. Alright, then we have the polyatomics. The only difference on the polyatomics is the group of atoms. Okay? Poly means many, so many atoms together. And you have that chart on page 257. So otherwise you don't have to memorize it. But if we look at the chart on page 257, we have something like chlorate. How do we know if something's a polyatomic? It's going to end with ate, usually, or ite. Okay? It's not going to end with ide. Ide is just a typical ion. So ate or ite, you're going to look it up. And if we look up chlorate, we see this. Now the key with polyatomics, put those guys in parentheses because the whole thing has the negative charge. So let's say I want to combine some chlorate with some lithium. Well, lithium, I look it up, it's group 1, so its charge is 1. Chlorate should be 1 plus. Chlorate is 1 minus. Okay, so all I have to do is crisscross the charges. So my 1 goes down there, and my 1 goes down there. I always put the parentheses, it never hurts. My 1-to-1 ratio, I don't even need to write the numbers, so there's my solution. Alright, what if we have some calcium and some sulfate? Well, if we look up sulfate, there's the formula. Tells us the charge. Calcium is group 2, so its charge is 2. Now I'm going to crisscross the charge. So this 2 goes down there. That 2 goes down there. Definitely need parentheses on this guy. Okay, so I've crisscrossed the 2's. Now this is a 2-to-2 ratio. That's the same as 1-to-1. So I'm going to reduce it down again. And you might as well put parentheses. It never hurts. Alright, so polyatomics are no different as far as the crisscross method. You just have to look up the formula. Go ahead and write the formula for these polyatomic compounds using the crisscross method. Pause the video, start again when everyone's done. Alright, we're all done. Go ahead and review your vocabulary study guide, and that is it for today.